Continuing in Epicor's theme of a day in the life of a manufacturer, we're going to explore today the streamlining of assemblies and job management to meet demands, improve productivity, improve control, compliance, and manage the shop floor in the most appropriate manner. The agenda for today will look at assemblies and job management to meet the demand, the concepts around paperless shop floors, the fact that we can do both paperless and papered shop floors, and mixtures of both. We'll take you through a bit of a product presentation on the Epicor environment in action, and then wrap up with a bit of a company overview. So let's look at assemblies and meeting demand. Now, in most manufacturing situations, you're going to create a job, a work order, a production order, whatever you call it. It is simply a vehicle for taking the routing and bill of material for the engineered product, conveying that information to the shop floor so that they can then execute that. Essentially, you create a job to satisfy a demand. That demand would be engineered to order, make to stock, assemble to order, assemble for stock. Whatever methodology or mixed methodologies you would use within your facility, you still have the concept of a job, a work order, a production order. It helps you organize materials, organize the routing steps, organize the equipment that is needed to be used, the people that are needed to work on the job, the tools, the jigs, everything that's required around that job. It essentially takes that demand information and the engineering information and the production engineering information, and it's a case of bringing that all together in a vehicle to move that work through the process. It is a significant part of the whole production process and can have significant impacts on the productivity of any production environment. Now, if we look at the engineering side, absolutely, the design, planning, potentially construction, maintenance of items that are manufactured. So a job can actually be tear down an existing item, perform maintenance activities on it, reassemble it and move it forward. Part of the process involves creation of the method of manufacture or method of remanufacture, depending on your purpose. This is a combination of the bill of materials and the bill of operations. Now, if you have products that are subject to configuration change, this is very important because it can track those particular changes for revision control and for compliance to changes in regulations. If you look at the Epicor concept of a method of manufacture, it interleaves the bill of operations and the bill of material into a single entity called the method of manufacture. In this, we're looking for a schedule inputs on the time to set up, the time for production, lead times, any secondary or related operations, and if you're using subcontract workers or subcontract operations as part of your process, how many days outside of your organization will that item be at the subcontractor for, and how is that going to impact the overall delivery capability that you have? Of course, these all have cost implications. So you're looking at the cost of labor, any labor burden or overhead that you would have on top of that, the cost of materials going into the product being created, but also the material burdens. So things like carrying costs or wastage costs that you need to factor in on top of the standard material costs and the cost of any subcontract operations. If it's cheaper, more cost effective, or you don't actually have the capacity, you sometimes need to send that work outside. But what you do need to do is maintain visibility, control, and reporting capability over anything that's subcontracted out to somebody else. Now, there are some implications for the job structure. Within Epicor, we have a very detailed way of structuring a job that allows us to reflect the product structure, reflect the production process itself, because larger pieces of equipment may not necessarily be made in a single piece, in a single operation, in a single work center. The job structure needs to be able to coordinate between all the elements required. So if I'm making a larger piece of capital equipment, I may have multiple sub-assemblies, modules, or other units that are made as part of that overall assembly. And one of the things that we really do need to focus on in that sort of environment is the ability to coordinate all those parts of that one finished unit across multiple areas within the facility. Need to be able to easily evaluate resource impacts. So if I have a work center that's making a sub-assembly, then I need to understand that if that resource fails for any reason, maintenance shutdown, or it is overloaded because there's too much work in that particular area, what is the impact to the other sub-assemblies, the other work centers, and to the end unit production itself? Because we're not making sub-assemblies or modules of an end unit in isolation, we're making them within the context of a single job. It also needs to allow for rapid rescheduling, again, because if I have machine breakdowns, if I have absentees, if I have excessive demands in a particular area, I need to be able to reschedule, optimize my schedule, and move those things forward. Essentially, any job structure should allow us to minimize the WIP and maximize the throughput. We're not looking for individual resource utilization, we're looking for maximized throughput, because that will give us the best productivity for the overall facility. This is a representation of the job structure within Epicor in a graphical format. This is the job scheduling board. At the moment, what we're showing is job 2131. The final part of that job is assembly, inspection, and shipping. But before that, there is a major sub-assembly and another substantial sub-assembly which has a level of sub-assembly below that as well. So if you have larger equipment and you're going to break that down into small assemblies, because that's the way it's engineered, that's the way it's drawn, that's the way production works best for you, you can have multiple operations per sub-assembly, multiple sub-assemblies per parent item, multiple levels of sub-assembly within one parent item, but all coordinated on one job. So in a variety of other ERP systems, what you see in front of you would not be one job with tagged assemblies, but actually 4 separate jobs, all independently scheduled and requiring independent rescheduling. So you can imagine the difficulty is amplified when it comes to rescheduling, tracking, and that sort of thing. Now we're talking about the shift of going to paperless. Why do I want a paperless shop floor? Number of reasons. Paper gets lost. Paper gets damaged, it gets muddy, it gets dirty, it's isolation. Now, in the Epicor environment, we can print off things like job travelers. So, paper documents that can travel around throughout the facility and be tagged. But what we would also encourage is people to consider moving to a paperless environment where instead of a piece of paper, you're actually looking at a tablet with job information. You're able to execute that electronically, real time, and then update the facility once. So if you think about the benefits of going paperless, increased operational flexibility. I don't have to pre-print all these documents to put them out into bundles for people then to collect and then move through the operation. And then think, oh, what happens if I need to change the schedule? I've got to go collect all these job travelers off the floor, stop people from making that, and ask them to make something else. So by having paper, you're actually reducing your flexibility. You're slowing your response. So if you go paperless, the chances are that you'll have a quicker response time to change. If you're looking at it from an innovation, including people in that mindset change that moves to more efficient, leaner operations, it's simply a better environment than a traditional 19th century paper manufacturing environment. It simply allows for greater efficiency and greater productivity. It's simpler, security is better because no one's printing off documents, printing off designs, printing off production standards, and then potentially taking them with it. And from a compliance perspective, you can do electronic signature capture at key points. You know, reduce paper costs and other associated costs, that clerical work that needs to put together. You know, it's just environmentally more responsible. It's a cleaner, more organized, more efficient, more 21st century shop floor environment. One of the concepts we have within the Epicor environment is the manufacturing execution screen, or Epicor MES. Now, this is a human MES screen. What I mean by that is that a person can walk up, log on, see a list of work that they have. They can also go through and pick up their work queue, saying, you know, these are the jobs that are coming at them. These are the jobs that are currently active. See their entire work queue. And as the schedule changes, as the business changes, as things get rescheduled, that work queue is dynamic. So again, instead of printing off this is what I want you to do today at 8 o'clock in the morning, the operators can be looking at what's the next thing in my queue, when do I start that? So as the schedule changes, as condition changes through the day, the work queue will also change. That allows them to then click into detailed information, including documents, drawings and the like. It all can be produced electronically about the job operation that they're doing. So you can see the opportunity for operation comments, staging details, job comments, assembly comments, documents, the ability to select this for work and say, I'm going to take this from work that's currently available for me and I'm going to make it active work. So let's have a look at Epicor in action in this particular area. Now, for those who haven't seen an Epicor homepage yet, to explain very simply, the Epicor homepage can be sitting, and you can use current Windows 8.1, etc., sliding screens, tablets, all that sort of thing. You can have dashboards. Dashboard stuff, information that is required and necessary to keep the business running. So I could be looking at things like my billings, bookings, and backlogs, on-time ratings. I could be looking at my backlog if I'm in production and I want to see the detail of that. That's available to me through the system. If I'm in the engineering context, I might want to be able to go and have a look at the CAD drawings for the design or the equipment that I'm manufacturing at the moment. And I might want to be able to pull that information straight up and view that so I can get a feel for what it is that I'm about to manufacture. There's no work instruction that can be as illustrative as an automation. So I can exit from there. So let's have a look at a particular job. Why am I going to a customer tracker to talk about the shop floor? Well, one of the contexts of Epicor is that it's a fully integrated system. So in the orders, maybe what I want to do is the customers rang up and said, okay, can you tell me where my order 123123 is, please? Okay, well, that's my order number. Let's go and have a look at the sales order that corresponds to that production. And I can see that I'm making one particular item on that. I'm actually making it on that job 2131. Now what I want to do is I want to go and have a look at that on the job scheduling board. Yes, that's the job. Show me the schedule. Now I can see it's late. The customer said, later, right? Now I can bring that in to whatever context I want. Now how am I actually making this? Right, well I have an assembly. That is the critical path assembly. That's why it's showing red. Now that assembly is being made on a series of operations. I have a second sub-assembly that itself has operations, but it requires a further sub-assembly within that. So let's have a look at that. So I need to start off by drilling, turning, or sawing, drilling and turning on that. Now I can see that there's some color change here. If I open this up, I can see that this particular operation within this sub-assembly as part of the overall assembly work for this job has now been progressed by about an hour. So I have a visual representation of what's happening on my shop floor. So if I'm trying to track down information for a customer, not only do I see the parent, but I see all the sub-assemblies and I see the progress within that sub-assembly. So I can give the customer a more accurate answer on their question. Now, if I decided to reschedule this, I could choose to reschedule just the operation. I could choose to reschedule the job, all operations, everything before that operation, everything after, just this assembly because of a particular problem. If I choose to reschedule it all, what's it going to give me? Now it's rescheduling this job and this job only. Within the context, I'm getting a warning saying it will not meet the required date. Yes, I know that. Now you'll see that there are two sets of colors. In the first instance, the color is the production schedule. In the second instance, the color is the what if schedule, because I haven't actually accepted this yet. So I can see I'm making some significant changes to that schedule, and it's going to delay the work substantially. So again, having all of the assemblies and sub-assemblies together within the one job allows me to do this infinitely more effectively than if I'd created 4 separate jobs and I was now trying to tie those 4 jobs together. So I'll just leave that the way it is and back out of there. Now, really, what I want to have a look at is my MES. So I can see that I'm actually progressing this job at the moment. So if I went and had a look in my work queue, I could see that this is my active work. If I was interested in looking at some of the details, I can see that I've got to do 300 of those. I've substantially made some. I've got 180 left to make. How much time, crew size. There's one person working on this at the moment. I see a lot of detail. I know this needs attention because I'm running late. But what documents are there? There's a document, the drawing for it. Right, so I can, from the shop floor terminal, pull up the drawing for the item. Again, this is all subject to security and profiles and that sort of thing. But instead of having a grubby drawing floating around that may not be revision controlled or may not be the current revision because I've got a book of these things out in the shop floor and people may get the wrong way. Well, instead of having that, I've decluttered the shop floor, I've removed paper from the shop floor, and I've allowed people to access the drawings live while they're making the product for the right revision version of that particular drawing. Now in my MES environment and my active work, that's fine. Perhaps I'll close off my work queue. Perhaps I want to report some quantity. No, that's not the job I'm working on. I want to be working on this job. Fine. I've made some so far. I need to make some more. And maybe I'll make another 20 of those. Production quantity reported. Perhaps if I wanted to have a look at the job itself, I could look at, say, the job tracker, or job entry. If I wanted to go straight to the job tracker and have that up as part of what I have available to me and type in 2131, I can do that as well. It shows me the breakdown of the method of manufacture, all the materials, all the sub-assemblies, all linked, and there's that attachment. The part revision document, which is the drawing. Now, this could be a PDF, yes, but it could also be various CAD files and that sort of thing. Perhaps what I wanted to do is print off something like the job traveler. Again, this is the choice of paper, non-paper. Print off the sub-assemblies, put the sub-assemblies on a different page if they're being made in different parts of the plant. Do I want to print the barcode? Could be one of the reasons why you want this to be done. So I just want a print preview of this. Might not necessarily want to print it, but I can preview it for you. Now what this will show when it comes up is that the system contains barcode information on the job travelers, which allow you to go through and scan details of the job as it's being created and then being executed. This will come up shortly. So that means that instead of people having to do keystroke entry and that sort of thing, you can use tethered barcode scanners on terminals, or you can use Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, RF devices to go through and bring that information into the system electronically. Now, here we go. So here's my job traveler, and it's saying job 31. This is the part. These are the parts that are being consumed. These are the operation standards, sub-assemblies, and you can go through the document, the operation steps, the employee that's associated to it, employee skill levels, that sort of thing. So full detail being able to print out. So you can go paperless, take the information, or papered and take the information. It's a matter of choice, not chance. Now that's the MES way of parking that through. Now if I wanted to go job details and have a look at operations, I could come down to my subassembly and look at the operations, and I can see I've got a subcontract operation and I've got various operations in progress at the moment. Materials being used, that sort of thing. Is my operation at the saw. Do I want to see labour transactions? And I can retrieve those. And it'll show me that I'm actually completing quantities. So all the information is being consolidated, and if I wanted to look at costs and I retrieve the information on costs, I can start to see that as I go through, I can bring up cost elements and actual quantities as I go. Now that's human MES. Very good, what it's intended, very good for certain environments. Now what if you had an environment where you were still doing the same structures and assemblies, but you had robotic equipment or production line equipment that could work? In that case, we then use Epicor's Matec MES. So this is an environment that links directly to equipment to allow us to maintain things like assembly, workflows, injection moldings, extrusions, anything where a PLC can pick up data and talk to the activity that's planned and the activity that's taking place so that we can run up various measures. So we can also go through and look at the shop floor and see which machines are running, which machines are good. So you can see the machines here are good at the moment. That's good, but need some work on it. And then I can be looking at plant-wide efficiencies, overall equipment effectiveness, good production rates, which machines are currently down, which machines are up or unoperational, or proportions, those sorts of things. Within that, I can also look at various reporting. I can look at for statistical process reporting, and I can look at everything through to the current draw on an assembly robot or an extrusion machine that's making product. That product may be part of an overall assembly. So you have the options of creating a single level job with no sub-assemblies and trying to control that, or creating a job with multiple layers of assembly, because that's the way the product works best, it's the way it can be serviced best, it's the way it's engineered and designed. So there are options. So that was just a quick demonstration of what we can do within the context of assemblies and job management. The areas we were looking at specifically within the overall Epicor ERP environment were production management, so elements of job management, lean production, and manufacturing execution, but also product data management, so bills of materials, routings, product costings, the engineering change, revision control, that whole product life cycle. You know, we've seen customer experiencing a great deal of functionality, the idea of being able to have paperless shop floor. You know, I can now walk around the plant with my tablet and schedule machine runs with a few taps, rather than obviously the implications of having it all down on paper and having to go back to an office all of the time. So, who is Epicor? Epicor is a company that is more than 40 years old, in excess of 20,000 customers globally, nearly 4,000 employees. We operate in 150 countries, almost $1 billion in revenue. Our market is focused on small to medium enterprises, substantially manufacturing enterprises with complex products, complex processes, compliance requirements, all the way through to lower market, simpler products. As I said, we operate in 150 countries, over 30 languages. There's an Epicor office, an Epicor representation, Epicor support near you all the time. We believe why Epicor? The flexibility, the best practice, continuous technical improvement and innovation in our products and our thought processes, deep industry knowledge and vertical expertise, and an absolutely customer-obsessed service and support organisation. Thank you, and I hope that you had some value out of today's presentation.